I hope you can hear me. Everyone can hear me right now. So as I was saying, we're discussing exploring Scratch. So I'm assuming all of you have been able to install the Scratch application, and at least you've looked at it in one way or the other. I'm just going to, just for those who have not understood every part of it. So I will start with the uppermost level, the blue line. So in this line, we have the menu where we have the file, edit, tutorials. If you want to learn more from others who have already worked with Scratch before, you can go to tutorials. And then on the leftmost line, we have what we call the blocks, the code blocks. As you can see them, they're labeled in different colors and different writing. So they have a description and the color also identifies them. We have the motion block, the looks block, the sound blocks, the event blocks, the control, sensing, operators, variables, and my block. And lastly, for my block, it allows you to create a block. For example, if you're working on a project and maybe you want your cat maybe to do something or your sprite to do something and it is not, you cannot find a block that will do that function, it is always possible for you to create your own block and instruct it on exactly what you want it to do. Then down here, as I click, we have these what we call extensions. They give you more functionality. For example, if you want, instead of your sprite just saying in text, hello, you can make it talk and say the words hello. So you can use the text to speech so that it can talk. So we have these extensions. You can always add them into your Scratch if you need them. Those who are working with robotics, you can use the Lego milestone to be able to combine it with your Scratch. You can also, if you need translation, as you all know that there's a Swahili version of Scratch. So you can use the translation in case you want to use the Swahili version and it can be able to do that for you. And then next, from the blocks, we have what we call this, the white space here. This is the working space. This is where you drag and place your blocks, like you can see me doing. So this is the working space. And then lastly, where we have the cat, this is the stage where the action takes place. Let me go back here where, as you can see me clicking, we have what we call the costumes. So the costumes are the different postures or looks of your sprite or your backdrop. For example, in my stage, I have the cat. And we can see the cat has two costumes. So it has one posture looking like that, and another one changing the legs position. So the costumes gives you the ability to see or to work with the different looks, postures, or views of a sprite or a backdrop. Then lastly, we have the sounds. If you want to add sound, if you want to add music, if you want to add any form of sound into Scratch, you go to the sound area and you can be able to edit your sound. If you want it to move faster, you deal with it. You make it move faster. If you want it slow, if you want it to fade, if you don't want it so loud, you can reduce it. You can make it soft so that if you want it louder, you can always make it loud. For example, if you want a specific part of your audio, maybe you recorded yourself and there are spaces you've made error and you want to remove those spaces, you just go to trim and be able to get rid of those different places. So then the other thing I would want us to look at so on this other side where we have the stage, below we have where it's written the sprite. That gives you a chance to rename your sprite. For example, I can rename mine into a cat because it's a cat sprite that I have on the stage. And then we have the direction in form of X and Y. I believe this is known, especially in mathematics, the directions across or vertically and horizontal. That is when we use the X and the Y axis. And then we can hide or show our sprites or our backdrop. That one is made possible by the show. For example, if I click on the show, if I click on the eye, the sprite is visible. If I click on the crossed eye, the sprite disappears. So with that, we're able to manipulate our sprites. For example, you want the sprite to move. If you're creating a story, and in stage 1, you have a cat and a rat talking, and then in the next stage, you want maybe a dog and a cat talking. So you want the rat to disappear. So you can always hide the rat from your scene. And then the size, sometimes we need to manipulate our sprites, make them bigger or make them smaller. So you just work on the size. You either increase it or reduce it depending on what you want. And then lastly there, we have what we call the directions. And these directions are mostly used when you're dealing with movement of our sprites. If we want for example, if I want my cat to move from forward and backwards, I will use the direction of the two arrows facing each other, the left and right, so that the cat is able to move forward and backward. If I use the round arrow all round, my cat will move in a turning direction such that it will be turning in terms of rotation, like from 0 to 360 degrees that way. But if I use the two arrows, it will be turning in form of left and right. Then below here where it's written the sprites, choose a sprite. As you can see, we have different elements. So the first one is for uploading your sprite. For example, if you want to create something to do with your school, you can go out, take photos of your school, take photos of your friends, take photos of the different items you need in your story or your animation, and then you upload them. You upload them such that you're able to bring them you add them into your list of sprites. And then the next one is a surprise. That one just gives you different sprites. And then we have the third one, which is paint. So when you click on paint, it allows you to draw very good with drawing. Please take advantage of this and be able to create your own characters and be able to use them. So it is very possible for you to draw your characters and use them. And then last, you've interacted with this, and we have the different sprites there with us. So I'll not focus much on that. Then next from the sprites, we have the stage, which has the backdrops, and it is the same thing with the backdrops. You can be able to upload your own image of your class, of your school environment, all that. You can be able to paint your own. If you're good with that, please do that. Then you can be able to choose from a variety of what you've been given. So I'll also, I think most of you have explored that, so I'll not focus much on that. So my next other issue before I share another project that has been done is when you're working with the blocks. So one thing I would like you to do, once you've decided on you want to create a project using Scratch, as we had talked in last week's session, the first week sessions about problem identification. So once you've identified your problem very well and you've stated it, sit down and do what we call a design, or think critically and decide what do you want to happen in first step. The next step, what do you want it to happen? For example, if it is a story, there must be the first stage of the story, then the second plot of the story. So you need to identify what is happening in the first stage. If we are, so I'm on my cat. If I'm on this cat, so you decide what you're going to do on your first stage. So for example, if I'm doing a story of a cat and a mouse, I want to know the first stage, they're going to be maybe in the kitchen, discussing 1, 2, 3 things. So once you have all those steps arranged, so you come and decide which blocks you're going to need. If it is for movement, which blocks, how do you want to move, in what direction? How do you want to move, up and down, forward, backward, turning around? So you need to know all those. You identify the blocks that you're going to use so that you'll be able to go direct into a project without struggling, because you'll have done a lot in the designing and making of decisions. Then if you're dealing with sounds, use the sounds that have been given in Scratch, and if it is not the sounds that have been given in Scratch, you can create your own audios or your own music. And when you use someone else's music, remember there's always the copyright issues. So please always remember to mention that person in your work so that they don't feel like you stole their music, to be able to create your own content. So when you use someone else's music, please mention them in your work. When you, for example, if you create a whole animation, and in that animation you use, for example, I can give an example of maybe a Kenyan musician, please mention them in the project to acknowledge them. Yes, because remember there are copyright issues. So if you use people's music without permission, you might end up in trouble. So keep that in mind, please, when you're working with sounds. So the best way is to use free music or create your own content, your own music or your own audios for use. Another thing, when working with blocks, always arrange your blocks systematically and make sure that the blocks click on each other. Like you can see my blocks. For example, this one is out, hanging on alone. That means it cannot function properly. So for it to function, I must put it somewhere so that it can work well. If it is this block, I need to stack it with this other one. So ensure you arrange your blocks systematically so that they're able to achieve the desired result. Another thing I would like to share with you, most of the time when you're working, you'll come across what we call bugs or errors in coding. For example, if I want my cat to move forward, right, let me do it. Let me demonstrate that. So I want my cat to be able to move from where it is to move forward. So I can have my cat move forward. I tell it to move forward. When I click the flag, it moves forward. And then when I click the space bar, I want it to move. But this time I want it to move coming back from where it was, from where it has reached. So this side I'll put a negative so that it comes back. And then this side I put a positive so that it goes forward. So we can look at this. So if I click on this, the cat is moving forward, as you can see. But when I click on the space, the cat is moving backwards, but it is in the upside down. And I don't want it to be upside down. So this we call it an error or a bug. It is not working as we expected it to work. So when you're dealing with Scratch, you expect to encounter what we call bugs or errors, especially when you're coding or when you're creating your project. So the most important thing is to ask yourself a few questions. Let me share the questions with you. So when you get bugs or errors, so you need to investigate and find where is the problem. What is the problem? So like in my case, the example we're doing, my cat is upside down. So how did I identify the problem? Because I wanted it to move, but not upside down. So that's why I'm finding it a problem, the fact that the cat is upside down. Then how do I fix the problem? So I need to ask myself, why is my cat upside down? So that I can be able to fix that problem. So in coding, as I've said, especially in Scratch, you're going to encounter a lot of errors, especially when you're working with the big projects that you guys are working on. So please don't get discouraged. Always find the problem and then try to solve the problem. Why is it working that way? And then I can give you 3 strategies on solving problems. So one, if you're working on a block and that block is giving you problems, working with it, it is not working as you wanted it to work, you can always search online and see what other people have been able to do with that block, and then maybe you can borrow ideas from there. Another thing, you can try something else. We always say there are many ways of solving a problem. So if, for example, you're trying to move from one place to another and you're using the block move and it is not working for your case, you can use grind or you can use other option still for moving. So there are many ways of killing a rat. So the same way in Scratch, you can always solve the same problem using other different ways apart from the method you had started using. And lastly, ask a friend and help a friend. If you're having trouble, go to another team in your club and ask them, how have you been able to work out this, or how can I be able to work out this? Maybe they have an idea that you're not able to see and they'll be able to help you. So ask your friend or help your friend if they ask for help so that you're able to work with one another. So as I'm winding up, please, I'm opening this so that we can have questions. In case you have any question in Scratch, I know you've already identified the problems you want to solve using Scratch. Please share with them so that we discuss and help you make a way forward, because I'm almost winding up actually. As I share a few projects that have been done in Scratch, please ask questions in the chat option.
Box, several projects can be designed in Scratch. The calculator project, we have it there, and that one is someone like designing to solve the problems that we encounter during math. If you want to calculate something, you can make the calculator. You don't have to be the one buying the calculator. For how long are we going to be consumers? So we also can be producers of the knowledge that you want to utilize in our classes. Look around you, the community. What is the problem that the community is facing? Remember, we are solving real world problems, and this time we are using coding, or rather we are using the computer or technology as a solution to these problems. So this is really possible. Scratch is so easy to learn. If you have any problems, you can just talk to any member of the team and we'll have you assisted. So if you have any problem, you can use the chat option at the far right of your screen. Just chat your question or any inquiry that you have, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, we're also encouraging you, please keep sharing once you come up, you've identified your problems that you want to solve, please share with us so that we help you in starting off the project, because we are expecting that you're already starting to work on the project. Let us know where we can help so that we assign you someone to help with your project when you're working on it anytime when you're available. So please share those ideas with us so that we assign you someone, an expert, to help you either with the coding or identifying the materials that you need to come up with those projects. Please ask questions. We are waiting for those questions. So yeah, please ask questions. I can share one more project. I'm waiting for questions. Please ask questions. As I'm sharing more projects.
If you've not yet started on your project, it's not yet too late to start. Just start and share with us your project so that we can advise you accordingly if the project can work during the competitions that we will host, or if you'll shift to another project or have other ideas. Yeah, we're here to support.
Okay, if nobody is asking questions, I can ask questions. So please, all those that are attending, tell us where you're attending from and what project are you thinking of coming up with. We are waiting. So you can even decide to come up with a game on either your favorite subject that people play it and they learn different concepts, as you can see from this game that I was sharing with you. And since I'm not receiving any questions, we're going to end the session there. And thank you so much for attending. And please send any questions or send the ideas that you're planning to work on in our chats or in the team where you are. Please try communicate from the iEARN team so that we can help you where you need help. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.